All right, thanks and welcome everybody. Oh, I'm so happy to see so many people on today. This is fantastic. So hopefully you read through the notes, and my notes said to please have a piece of paper with you. And the reason being is you're going to be doing some writing and journaling. Have a coffee. I have my coffee with me. So please make sure you've got that and that you've got all the things that you need today that are going to make this helpful for you. That's so nice. I'd love to see everybody writing like good morning to each other. Wow. Do people know each other on this call? That would be interesting for me to know. Like some of you know each other. Now we have 69 participants on right now. So I don't think I'm going to be able to do a roll call, which is really too bad because it would have been awesome to hear from everybody. But when you unmute yourself to speak, please introduce yourself so we know who you are. Okay, so clearly I have had a hot topic on the regulating emotions while working from home. And I'm going to give you a little bit about why I decided to do this. So my office is in my house, so I work from home. And so I'll say this has been a change for me 7-8 years ago when I launched my consulting company to have to work from home. So I'm kind of used to this, but I realized if this isn't your regular MO and you don't work from home, and especially if you have other people with you, this is not an easy feat to accomplish. I see some heads nodding. Yes. And especially if you've got a partner who's working from home as well. Like right now, I had to go downstairs and tell my partner to stop talking. He's on a call. He was really loud. I'm like, yo, dude, I'm starting a webinar in 5 minutes. Please go stay quiet. Lock yourself up in your office. So it's not fair to the people that we're working with, which is really challenging as well. And for how many of you have kids that are at home with you right now too? Put up your hands. Wow, so quite a few of you have kids that are at home with you too. Okay, my hat's off to you. I think we're gonna run a webinar next week on how do you manage working full-time and trying to be a full-time parent and also trying to be a full-time teacher, because kids are now, their courses are going online and the expectation is you're helping them. So I'll do something about that in a week or so. So why I wanted to do the regulating emotions is whether you're a leader, whether you're an employee, whether you're self-employed, right now we are experiencing some really unique times. And one of the things that I'm concerned about, given my background in mental health, is just how people are handling things mentally in terms of what's happening for you. For some of you I've heard from who are self-employed, this has really taken a hit for you because you've been spending time putting things together and now you're not getting the income that you had expected and things are falling by the wayside. I will say for my own business, I'm fortunate in a sense that my clients have not canceled things, and many of you on the call are my clients, so thank you. You haven't been canceling things, you've been postponing, or now we've been moving to the world of virtual. And so we've had to gear up really quickly on how do we work virtually and how do we do those things. But not only are we worried about the economy, what's going to be happening, what's the new norm going to be, but also just right now, I think a lot of us are hunkered down in survival mode. And I wanted to just talk a little bit about what you might be noticing for yourself and what's happening for you. So I'm going to ask you to go into the chat function because the first question that I want to, well, actually, let me go into what today's topics are going to be. So today's topics, 3 things. We're going to look at recognizing your emotions, and then how are we managing stress and anxiousness? So what's happening for us right now and how are we handling that? And what you'll see very quickly is the higher your stress levels are right now, the more your emotions are most likely not as easy to regulate or control. And then the last thing I want to talk about is how do we develop some strategies? I have been bombarded on the internet with Instagram, emails, everything, Facebook on how to manage anxiety, how to manage your mental health. I've been trying to look at how I can curate some of those things for folks because there just seems to be so much. And so today I want to talk not only about what you can do, but let's practice a little bit while we're on the call so that we can get into the swing of things. So the first thing I want to just ask people is, are people in touch with their emotions? And have you noticed a change, or what have you been noticing about your emotions right now? So if you want to type into the chat function, and Jen, if you'll help me to have a look at all those things. So roller coaster, okay, roller coaster. So Jen, you're never worked from home and your kids are there. Yeah, absolutely. Up and down. Mm-hmm. Yeah, what else? Okay, multitasking. I want to just on the multitasking. That one's a big one because you're neither here nor there. You're kind of trying to do everything. Yeah, people are feeling anxious, overwhelmed for sure. Yeah, where does work start? Where does work end and home starts?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kids home. Yeah. And you've got to be everything to everybody right now. Yeah. Okay. So lots of things. Oops, I got some feedback. You wouldn't mind all putting yourselves on mute. I thought I did, but clearly you're too wily for me and you've unmuted yourselves. Oh, not enough alone time. Yes, I want to talk about that too. Not enough alone time. Do you have locks in the bathroom? Because I'm kind of finding that that might be the only place that we have alone time, unless you have a dog. The dogs have figured out how to get into the bathroom with you. Yeah, all over the place. Yeah. Okay. So today, one of the things, oops, how did I get my stuff already so fast? Every time I touch something, we just seem to be moving too quickly on this webinar. So as you notice this change or roller coaster of emotions that you're going through, I think right now I'm happy that you're on this call with me because this is your hour for you to think about you and what you can do for you. When we talk about emotions, I want to just give you, for those of you who've worked with me, you know I talk a lot about this. We feel emotions in our body. And so typically when we feel anxious about something, I want people to just kind of think about when you're thinking of something and something that's provoking anxiety for you, like the kids coming home and working from, you know, you've got to be a teacher for them and everything else. Where do you feel it in your body? I want you to just, everybody close their eyes for a second. Think of something that's causing you anxiety right now. Where do you feel it in your body? My chest, yeah. Gut, chest, shoulders, jaw, shoulder brain, your brain, chest, arms, shoulders. Yeah. Where else do you feel it? Neck, shoulders, stomach, gut. Yeah, back. Okay, so what you're noticing is that when we feel anxious, yeah, all of the above. When we feel anxious, typically we feel anxiety in the core of our body, because what happens when we start to feel anxious is we start to hold our breath and blood starts to move away from vital organs for us in fight or flight. And so right now, when you're watching the news, when you're constantly I'm not even in Canada right now, I'm still in the US. And as I'm, every morning, I'm waking up to like news blasts from CTV saying, hey, like this is happening. Now the borders are closed. And so I'm waking up and all of a sudden I feel that shock or that jolt in my gut. My gut starts clenching and it's hard to breathe. So one of the first things I'm going to ask you to think about is just where do you feel your emotions? So how about when you're angry? Something's really pissed you off. Like I just went down to make a cup of coffee. There was no coffee left. I have the last cup. So coffee, something. Think of something that makes you angry. You're trying to work and people are interrupting you at home every 5 minutes with something. Hey, did you do the laundry? What did you make for lunch? I'm working. I don't have time to make you lunch. Think about the anger. Where do you feel anger in your body? Mom, can I watch a show for the 5th hour today? No. So in your jaw, okay, chest, heart. In your head, I'm assuming that means your head pounds or you're clenching in gut, head. Yeah, hard to breathe, jaw. Get headaches. Huh. Okay, great. Not that great. I don't mean great as in this is what you're feeling, but I really want you to get in touch with what's happening because we can't regulate our emotions unless you actually know what's happening and where they are. Feeling high blood pressure, your nose. Well, that's interesting. Your nose and your head when you're angry. I wonder if your nostrils start to flare when that happens. high blood pressure. Yeah. Okay. Can I just do a double check? Can you just physically put up your hand? Can you hear me okay? Okay, great, great. Oh, Shelly, I see you. Oh, good. And Terry Ann, you figured out how to use the hands. Okay, fantastic. Thanks, everybody. All right, I just wanted to make sure. So if you can't hear me at all, because I'm on my computer audio, please just let me know. Give me a wave or something so that I can see what's going on. Okay, so anger as well. We typically, you know, again, it's in that core area, we start to feel anger and it moves its way. And then we start to feel the physical symptoms.
Yeah, I didn't answer the phone because I'm just in the middle of
Oh, put yourselves on mute, please. Thank you. Okay. So, sorry. So, I'm going to see if I can, there we go. Thank you. So with how you're feeling, I just want folks to recognize, if you don't recognize when you're feeling angry or when you're feeling anxious, it's hard to regulate. Your body is your barometer. We feel 1/300th of a second, we think 1/10 of a second, which means my body feels much faster than my brain. But because we're in a bit of a crisis mode right now, and I'll use that term, some of you may be feeling it more than others. We just keep thinking, I just got to get through today. I just got to get through today. I got to get through today. And then today and today, now today's been 2 weeks, and then it'll be 3 weeks. I want you to feel like you're going to be able to get through this, but I also want you to recognize your brain is really powerful and your thoughts just squash down how you're feeling. And when we don't recognize when we're feeling that kind of stress or emotions in our body, it's easy to not pay attention to it until we start acting out on our behavior. So we start snapping at people, we become really impatient, we blow a fuse. I myself, so last night I was, oh, can I just stop on that one? So this one to go to Aaron Ellis, love your backdrop. If you guys want a virtual background, you too can create your virtual background. If people want to change their backgrounds just as we're playing here, you can go to, where can you go to change your background? I know how to do it. Oops. Aaron, unmute yourself.
So where it says stop video, and don't hit stop video, but right beside it, there's a little arrow that points up. And if you click up, you can then choose your virtual background. You can also include pictures of your own backgrounds if you like.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. I get that asked every time. So thank you. So yesterday when I was heading to bed, and I'm going to talk about some of the practices that we do to help us regulate our emotions while we're working together at home and staying at home, I was feeling really heavy. And so kind of sad, kind of down, and I couldn't quite figure out what it was. It was sitting on my chest like an elephant. And I thought, what's that feeling I'm feeling? And when I was going to bed, my partner said to me, are you okay? And I said, no, I'm kind of sad today. And he said, what's upsetting you? And I said, I'm actually not sure. And then I had to start thinking about all the things. And then it was so huge, I didn't even realize it. So how we tell ourselves stories. This morning, my youngest son, who's 23, he was supposed to be leaving for Vancouver May 1st once he finished his last set of exams. And he was moving out west to go join his girlfriend and start a business out there. In all the chaos, he packed up on Monday, called me and said, hey, Mom, I'm moving on Thursday. I was like, what? I can't say goodbye to you. I can't see you. I'm in another country. I can't come home and you're leaving. I'm like, oh. And so then I started making up all these stories around how I'm not seeing him, how his dad gets to drop him off, how I don't get to drop him off. It's so unfair. I can't kiss my baby goodbye. Okay, he's also 6'5". He's not really a little baby, but he's my baby. And so as I was feeling this, what I realized was the story I was telling myself. I was creating this story in my head to feed my emotion. And as soon as I recognized it, I was like, I need to stop. I need to stop with the story and I need to think about the reality. The reality is we have FaceTime. We have Zoom, we have technology. I can talk to him every single day, which I didn't even do when we were both at home. So the stories that we tell in our heads also fuel our emotions. So I want to talk about some of the stories that we're creating in our head and what's happening to us. So does everybody have a piece of paper? Oh, Matt, like your background. All right, everyone has a piece of paper with them? We're going old school. Take out your pen, take out your clean piece of paper. And I'd like you to do this. I'd like you, while you're working at home, I'd like you to think about all the things that are causing you stress or concern right now. And I want you to just write them all down. Write down everything that's causing you stress or concern. And I'm going to give you 4 minutes, 5 minutes to do this. And I'll also let you know that if you have less than 10 things, you're not thinking hard enough. So keep going. In another minute and a half. All right, I'm going to ask you to stop there. How many of you had a list greater than 10? Just put up your hands. All right, so a few of you, yeah. I love that you found the raise your hand function. So I can see you doing it, and some of you are doing it virtually, which is really cool. Okay, great. So many of you had more than 10. Now, when you look through your list, I want you to just generally look at, so what are some of your emotions in relation to the stressors? So when you look at all the things that are causing you stress right now, how are you feeling about things? What emotions get triggered for you? One of the things, so the other day, I've been really practicing not only the physical distancing, but also not going out. I've really been trying not to go out. So, which has been killing me because I feel like I'm stuck at home. And then I kind of had to reframe. I'm not stuck at home, I'm safe at home. So if I'm safe at home, then I feel better about being at home as opposed to creating the story of being stuck. I'm out of toilet paper. I mean, I have maybe a couple days worth. That's about it. So the other day I was like, well, I really need to go forage for toilet paper, which is crazy to think of all the things during a pandemic. You know, we've all made fun of it, but honestly, I'm in a small town right now in Vermont, and you'd think there'd be a lot of toilet paper. There's not a lot of people here, but no, there's no toilet paper. So when I started thinking about that, I was getting really angry. I'm like, damn all those hoarders. Why the hell they hoard toilet paper? I need toilet paper. And then it started making me mad as I started thinking about the things that were stressing me out. The other thing that's really been my big thing lately, I was responsible for pandemic planning and emergency preparedness when I worked in healthcare. Now, I come from a mental health background and an HR background. And so when they gave the HR lady pandemic planning to do, I was like, what do I know about emergency preparedness? But I learned, and I spent 6 months writing the pandemic plan, of which when I completed it a week later, we experienced H1N1. So the first thing I was really aware of was the masks and the PPE, which is the personal protective equipment. And I wish I'd uploaded this picture to show you. Anytime I see someone walking around with an N95 mask, completely triggers me. Completely triggers me. And the reason being, I was in an Uber a couple of weeks ago when I was still in Toronto, 3 weeks ago, and the Uber driver had an N95 mask on. And I said, excuse me, I said, have you been mask fit tested for that? And he said, no. And I said, then it's rendering you useless. The N95s are respirators, so they're made to fit really tight. There's 3 different sizes and about 20 different companies, maybe more now, that manufacture them. So if you haven't been fitted, it doesn't help you. You might as well put your underwear on your face. Same thing. And he said, well, what about a surgical mask? And I said, surgical mask will only protect you if you're sick from spreading and coughing your germs on everyone else. It's not going to protect you from people coughing on you. It's just going to help you not touch your face. I said, so please don't hoard resources. And sure enough, now we're in a crisis where we don't have enough resources because people have been using them for themselves inefficiently and ineffectively. And so when I look at those things, things that cause me stress, and I took a picture, I was in the airport and there was a guy with a mask. And of course I had to tell him this. And he said, oh, I had no idea. Thanks for letting me know. I said, how much did you pay for that mask? He said, $40. I'm like, the person who sold that to you, really? I was thinking a few things, but I realized that these things were causing me stress and concern, and I could do very little about. So I've been reading all the things. Leaves in newspaper. Yeah, thanks, Mike. Since I am in Vermont, there is an abundance of leaves I can use. I'm okay. Listen, my mom grew up in the Depression, World War II. She taught us a few things. We'll figure it out. Now, so as you're feeling these things, as you look at your stressors, what I'd like you to do next is, have a look and see what can you, when you look at all those things, I'd like you to put them into 3 columns. And in those 3 columns, one is, what do you have total control over? So draw 1 column and put on here total. The second column is I have some control over. And then the third column on your piece of paper is what I have no control over. So I have no control over people who choose to wear N95 masks who haven't been fitted for it. It causes me great stress, but I have no control over those people. Even when I tell them not to do it, they're still going to do what they want to do because they have their own belief system. So please have a look and just quickly move your things over to each column. Now, for those of you who are on video or not on video, I can't see if you're actually doing this or not. One of the things I really want to encourage you is do it. Do the exercise. I want you to actually see where those 3 buckets and all your stressors fit in. Michelle, I'm reading your comment and I'm laughing. Yes, yes. Oh, CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy, which is the therapy of reframing. So really looking at what your mind is thinking and how you perceive things. Interesting. So you may have not finished this, but what I would love is if people want to share some of the things that you've noticed as you started moving your things into those 3 columns. And if you want to unmute, if you want to chat your name in the type function that you'd like to say something, I'd love to hear from people. Does anyone want to talk? I'd love to hear what, you know, as you're going through this. Mm-hmm. I love that you've eliminated half of almost what you're stressed about. Yeah, not too much in the control box, total control. Oh, interesting. Most of the things that you are stressed about are within your control. Mm-hmm. Yeah, anybody else? What are you noticing about what you have total control over, some control, or no control? Mm-hmm. So when you look at these buckets, the purpose of this exercise, so the purpose of this exercise is to really look at realistically the things that are upsetting you and causing you anxiety or stress. How much control do you actually have over those things? Yeah, so Greg, total control, feelings. Exactly, no control, external factors. So when you look at it, the things that you have total and complete control over is how you react to things. You have total and complete control over the stories you create about the things that you see, how you feel about the things that you see, and your emotional response. That's what you have total control over. What you don't have control over, or you have some control over things. You have some control over many things. You have there's a lot of things within that space. So some things that you can control, again, I can control how much TV my kids watch. I can control how many webinars a week I want to do. I can control a couple of those things. How I feel about things is though where I have total control. I can't control how many people get on a webinar. I can't control the workload that happens. I can't control if my clients change their mind about something. But what I have total control on is how I perceive that to be happening. So what's my choice? That's where you have control. How do I choose to show up in what's happening with me? Now, the challenge for this a lot of the times is because emotions get in the way of this. The emotion train leaves the station and we just follow along with it. Really what I want us to think about is how can I control some of the emotional things that I'm experiencing? And so the next thing I want to talk about is because you've been at home and you've had a lot of stressors. I mean, you're writing them all down, the things that you've had to deal with. And what would be interesting is if we shared what some of our stressors are. And I have a feeling that many of us probably have very similar stressors. So one of the nice things to know is you're not alone. Many of us are feeling many of the same things. It's just how are we going to show up to deal with them? And so right now, I'd like you to just think about what are some of the things that you're noticing or perhaps have noticed some changes in yourself. Have your sleeping habits changed? I've noticed that since I've been consuming so much social media and news, and I typically don't watch news, it's not good for my mental health, but I'm now addicted, and I will use that word addicted to find out what's going on. And so I've noticed that I'm not sleeping as well. When I wake up in the middle of the night, I'm breaking some of my own cardinal rules, which is no cell phone by my bed. And so when I wake up in the middle of the night to check the time, then I start like, oh, there's another COVID-19 bulletin alert. That's not going to help me in the middle of the night, and then gets my mind racing and I'm not sleeping. Have you noticed an increase in your drinking or substance use? So interestingly enough, I was reading something on cannabis. I have a client of mine who's a cannabis company, and I was looking at some things. Last Saturday, there was an 80% increase on online orders for cannabis. People are at home and people are feeling anxious, so we're increasing our substance use. Drinking. So for those of you, most of you I'm thinking are from the Ontario area, the LCBO. Holy, can you imagine if the LCBO closed down and people were stocking up big shopping carts full of alcohol? So I also noticed I've been drinking more in the evenings. It's kind of like, oh, I'm on permanent work from home, so I might as well drink more, which is increasing the anxiety. Eating. I have been cooking like a fiend. I don't even like to cook. And I have been cooking and cooking and cooking like Armageddon is coming. So just thinking about, what are your eating habits like? Are you increasing the intake or need for salt or carbs? What's your mood been like? Have you noticed? Yeah. Oh, 3 pans of Rice Krispies. Erin, please send them to all of us. Yeah, eating all the time. And maybe that's the other thing, is because if you are working from home, the refrigerator's right there. And are we emotionally eating right now? Are we stress eating? Are we eating because we're bored or anxious? And so we're feeding ourselves with something. Yeah, back on sugar. I've been eating bread. I haven't touched bread. You've had wine dropped off. Okay, so that's funny. I don't typically eat bread. I've been wanting to make bread and eat bread. I've been baking scones. Yeah, see, banana bread, chocolate chip cookies. So all these things I just encourage us to look at. And what's also happening if you have kids at home, how are their, what's their intake of food happening? And so in our moods, if we're eating so much, we're not exercising as much. I think they're calling this the Corona 15. Sort of like when you start university, they call that first year university, Uni 15 or something, where we all gain weight. It's kind of like this again. Yeah. Intermittent fasting, fantastic. Yeah, great. COVID-19, 19 stands for the weight you'll gain at home. So, it's 19 pounds. There we go. So, and also, have you noticed freshman 15? That's it. Thank you. I knew there was a name for that. And conflicts. So yes, we are reverting back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, very base survival. So conflicts and relationship issues. So if you've noticed any of these kinds of changes, both in yourself and in your partner or your family members at home, this is a good barometer to measure what's happening with us internally. So I want to give you a couple of things to help us build more resilience. So resilient people. This time right now calls for resiliency, and it's hard to build resiliency when you feel like you've been depleted because we're on the stress treadmill. Let's start small, build in a couple of things to help us. So resilient people have a positive attitude. And when I mean positive attitude, I don't mean Pollyanna, like, oh, the world is fantastic, this is such a great time. Not like that. I don't want people to minimize what's happening, just in terms of coming back to the stress factor. What can I control and what can't I control? So having a positive attitude doesn't mean everything is fantastic right now. It just means, where am I going to spend the bandwidth of mental energy that I have? What am I going to spend it on? So good at setting boundaries. Okay, so working from home right now, the challenge is when, and I think, Greg, you had asked this earlier, is when does work stop and home start? So if you're working at home, it's really easy to just stay plugged in 24/7. So what are some good, healthy boundaries in terms of creating structure? I mean, for myself, I start at 9, I end at 5. And I've been taking a lunch break with my partner. I make him get off his calls and we're like, we're going to do lunch together and we have dinner together. And at dinner, no cell phones, no TV on. We can have the radio. And we've started playing Scrabble. I've never played Scrabble. I'm almost embarrassed to admit this. So I've never played Scrabble before and I beat him. Just saying. All right. So good at boundaries. So we'll talk a little bit about how we can create some boundaries. And people who are resilient are flexible. Right now, I think the thing is giving ourselves a little bit of self-compassion and kindness to yourself. You can't be everything to everyone right now. You have 4 online Scrabble games going. Maybe you'll teach me. And so how can we be flexible? We've got to think about being kind to ourselves. I can't be everything. I can't be the perfect mom right now. Hell, I couldn't even say goodbye to my kid. I can't be the perfect mom. I can't be the perfect work person right now. People have been emailing me, texting me, and calling me, Christine, now such a great time for you to be running your mental health programs. Now such a great time for you to be running your leadership programs. Oh my God, you should be doing so much online. And you know what I'm saying to all that? You know why? Because I'm tired. I'm tired. And so I need to be kind to me so that I have the energy to be able to do what I need to do. Yeah, you got to take care of you. Absolutely. If we can't take care of ourselves, I use this analogy a lot, and those in airlines will appreciate this. When you're on a plane, the flight attendant says, take care of who first? You. Put the oxygen mask on you, on you before you can take care of anyone else. If we have nothing left for us, how could we possibly be the people we need to be for others? The other thing is around having strong social connections. This online thing's been very interesting. Now, I'm going to encourage a lot of online right now interaction. This is why I've been asking you to put your cameras on. I need to see you. I can't touch you. I can't feel your energy. And that's causing us some anxiety and also increasing depression with people, because when you touch other people, it releases oxytocin. I always say this jokingly, not to be confused with Oxycontin, but same kind of high. So with oxytocin, you get that energy, you get that surge. It gives you a surge of dopamine, and it makes you feel better when you touch people. We're not able to touch people, so at least see people as opposed to just calling. Yeah, this is great. You're seeing friends more than before. Yeah, that house party app is hilarious. I love it. It's great. It's great. We're doing dinners with our friends who live right next door. We're doing Zoom dinners with people. So finding different ways to be able to do this. Absolutely. And then also being aware of your personal strengths. So what are you good at right now? Like not just now, but what are you good at typically? I've discovered, like, my thing is I love to bring people together and I love to create safe space for people to talk. So being able to do that and to share with people. This is why I'm doing this webinar. Because I was feeling a little out of sorts and not seeing people, but I also wanted, like, what are the things that I'm good at and what can I share with people? So let's quickly, we've got about 20 minutes left. Let's talk about how we can build some daily resilience. I want to talk about the power model. So the power model is something we can do on a regular basis. It's got 5 elements to it, and it starts off with positivity, P for positivity, O for offer, W is right, E is exercise, and R is recharge. All this should not take you more than a couple of minutes a day. And the reason why it's important to do, I'm going to call them micro bursts of building our own internal resilience, is when you have a lot of stressors and there's a lot of things coming at you that you don't have control over. Stress is caused by the things that we have no control over. That's where stress comes from, is a belief that we can control it when we can't control it. And so when you have a lot of stress, it can lead to distress. And the distress are the things that I said in terms of what are you noticing that's different about you? Your sleep, your eating, your drinking, your substance use, your moods. When those start to change and fluctuate, we start to move into distress. And distress starts to eat away at our mental resilience. Just like when we physically don't take care of each other, we become compromised, physically compromised. Our immune system becomes compromised, and it's easier for us to become unwell. Same thing with our mental health. And so looking at what are some things we can do to help increase our mental health. So I'm going to ask you on your piece of paper I'm going to go through each of these. I'm going to ask you to start writing some things down on what you can do. So the first one around positivity. Positivity requires us to look at how we can perceive things differently. So we're hardwired for threat and danger. That's what our brains are naturally hardwired for. It requires effort to think of things positively. And if you're not in that positive space, you know, when you go online and people are like, hey, now's a great time for like business opportunities, or people should be happy that you're staying at home. If you're not in that great headspace and someone's telling you you should be positive, it makes you feel the complete opposite. And so it's more helpful, instead of telling people to be positive and to be happy and to look on the bright side, think about this from your own perspective. What do you have to be positive about? And so one of the things that I've noticed that helps us get to a place of positivity best is looking at the things that we have to be grateful for. So right now, I'd like you to write down 3 things that you're grateful for. You can write them on your piece of paper, and after you write it, if you want to post it for everybody, that would be great too. 3 things you're grateful for. Nice. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nice. Mm. Yeah, what else do you have? Mm. Mm-hmm. I'm just reading all of your things. Yeah, this is great. Hmm. Okay, great. Thank you for sharing some of the things that you're grateful for. I have to say, I've even gone to gratefulness in the most minutia things. I woke up this morning to a beautiful blue sky and bright sunshine. I also woke up to birds singing. That was a spectacular sound, because I forget it's spring out there right now. So I love the fact that I can listen to those things. And the other thing is I've almost learned to make coffee as well as the coffee shop next door. It's not quite as good, but I am grateful that I'm learning how to make better coffee. So it's almost like that minutia of things that I've become thankful for. Great. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. I really appreciate that. The other thing is, I'd like you to catch yourself when you go into autopilot and the negative. So this requires mindfulness. So when your thoughts start ruminating and you start going into the negative, how can you catch yourself? And then when you catch yourself, ask yourself, is this true? Is it true? And what am I thinking? And what evidence do I have? So, you know, somebody does something and our first response is, oh, they're just trying to piss me off. Do I actually know that's true? Maybe they have something else going on and I'm not paying attention to it. So just looking at, how do I change my perspective of what's going on? Okay, so that's the first thing. I'm also gonna spend a little bit of time on this one. For those of you who have family at home, this is a great activity to do with your partners. So this is something that my partner and I have been doing for a long time, but it's really been coming in handy now. Every morning when we wake up, we say, what are the things that we're looking forward to today? What are the 3 things that we're looking forward to? And at the end of the night, we say the 3 things that what happened and what we're grateful for. It's just a great habit to get into. At dinner, if you've got kids, it's a great family conversation. What are things that you're thankful for? And everybody just lists something. It's wonderful, like having a great conversation with, what are the things, as opposed to all the things that are going wrong. I can't play outside, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't go to the grocery store, whatever it is, reframe that. What do you have as opposed to what don't we have? Yeah, sometimes I do. So Greg's asking, do you feel like you have to force that sometimes? Yeah, and it helps when I have a partner who can help me reframe. So I'll just give a quick story. About a year and a half ago, we were working in Ireland, and I got a call from my staff person who said, "Hey, Christine, you have a leak in your ceiling, and your whole living room is flooded right now." I was like, "What?" And I was freaking out, and I called the insurance company, and the insurance company wouldn't cover it for me because of some pre-existing thing that happened on my deck, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I was freaking out. The quote was like astronomical to fix my ceiling, to fix my floors, and to fix the deck outside. And so when I called him, I said, can you believe this? I can't believe the insurance company won't cover this. And I was like freaking out. And he said to me, and aren't you fortunate that you have money to pay for it? I was like, but I don't want to pay for it. I want the insurance company to pay for it. And he's like, yes. And aren't you glad that you have money to cover that? So he always has this wonderful way of helping me reframe things when I don't sometimes want to reframe things. So if you have somebody in your life who helps you to just see things differently, embrace it. That's why it's great to share some of these things, not just our frustration, but just really listen to how somebody else can help you reframe something when you don't feel happy about something. Okay, great. I want to go on to the next one, which is offer. So right now, when we are stressed or we're not feeling great and we're feeling, I'll say, anxious about things, focusing on ourselves, we tend to become very internally focused. I'm not getting this. This isn't meeting my needs. And we're in our head. One way to get out of your head is to think about what can you do for other people. I have loved seeing what people have been doing right now in terms of volunteering. I mean, I know it's, you can't go outside and do a lot of things to help people. In my neighborhood, so in Toronto, I live in an area where there's like a street full of townhouses downtown, and my neighbors have all gotten together. We hardly ever see each other, and somebody created a group chat, and everybody's been doing the like, what's in the hood? And it's so funny, and they're like, hey, I had a sighting of this, or somebody's children put some beautiful hand paintings in the front window so that the neighbors could see their art exhibit, and she took pictures of it and shared it with all of us, and people like, hey, Christine, we noticed your house is really dark. Is everything okay? And I'm like, oh, actually, I haven't been home for 3 or 4 weeks. I said, please, can you watch my house? And so people have been just volunteering to help each other. We have a couple of senior neighbors, and so they've been grocery shopping for them. Any talent that you can share with somebody right now, I mentioned this earlier, now's a great time to do that. When you feel good about giving to others, it makes you feel better. I'm going to give you a challenge right now that I'm going to, oh, nice. A neighborhood's offering to do a parade to go by the houses when young kids are having birthdays. Oh, that's so great. Love that. Love it. So I'm going to ask you to think about, what can you share? What can you do that will make you feel good? So this is your homework when you get off this call. I want you to write, not type, with your hand. I want you to write a gratitude letter to somebody. Somebody that you're grateful to, that you haven't told them lately, that you're grateful to them. I'd like you to write the letter. And then when you are writing that letter, I want you to read it when you're done to yourself, and I want you to notice how it made you feel. And then I'd like you to call that person, and I'd like you to read it in your own voice to that person. And then I'd like you to shoot me a message and let me know how that worked. Okay? All right. Right now you can't join a group physically, but you can certainly join groups online, coach, mentor. I've been using this time. I get calls a lot from people who are either new in their career and want to ask me, hey, how are you doing what you did? How did you go from working as a frontline mental health worker and clinician in downtown Toronto to running your own consulting company, working with Fortune 500 companies? Like, how did you do that? So I often don't have a lot of time for those calls. I've been taking all those calls right now. I've been setting them up. I've been having lots of conversations with entrepreneurs or people who want to start businesses, and it's been really rewarding. I feel really honored that people are asking me for help, and now is my time to be able to give it. And then spend quality time. Some of you mentioned earlier that you've been catching up on technology with people that you haven't talked to in ages because now you have some time. So keep doing those. Okay, next one is writing. I asked you to write this letter because we create a deeper, stronger neurological connection when we write versus when we type. So I'm going to encourage you, write as much as you can. Write the things that you're grateful for, because I will guarantee you, when you think of 3 shitty things today, and, oh no, let me reframe that. 1 shitty thing. You just need 1 shitty thing, and we get stuck thinking about that all day long because our brains are trained for negativity. Even if you had 10 good things happening, the 1 shitty is going to consume your thoughts. So to reframe or to get us out of that, write down the things that happen during the day that are good. Catch yourself looking for things that go well. We need to train our brain for positivity. Once a week, do a brain dump. There's a lot going on. Yes, I will share this deck. There are a lot of things going on in your brains right now, and we're consumed with all of the anxious feelings that we're having. Do a brain dump. Or if you're sitting there and you're coming up with all new creative ideas of what you could be doing and what you see might be potentially something that you could do in the future given the new state of affairs, write these things down. Oh, a brain dump? A brain dump is anything that you have in your brain. So I mentioned stress is because we can't control things. When we have a lot of thoughts ruminating in our head, it causes us more stress because those thoughts are occupying precious brain energy. Write down the things that are in your head. That's a brain dump, and not in any pretty way, or don't make a list. Just anytime things are in your head, write them down. The reason is as soon as you get it out of here and onto a piece of paper, it gives you a semblance of control. It already makes you look at something differently, and you'll feel like you have control over it. And then you can mind map. So if you've got decisions to make, like I might be losing my job and I need to figure out how I'm going to pay my rent. Mind map a decision. And if you don't know what a mind map looks like, I wish I could draw on here. I know there's a whiteboard somewhere, but I'm afraid to touch something because I'm going to screw it up. So no, I'm not going to be afraid. Wait a minute. Are you all with me? I'm going to go. Oh, good. There's a journal that does these things. Thank you for sharing, Greg. Let me see if I can find my whiteboard. I see, I want to draw, but where's my whiteboard to draw things on? Maybe I'll just draw it here. Can you see that there? So this is your brain dump, your mind map. And it starts with, okay, you're going to have to excuse my language, but this is how mine started many years ago when I was looking to start my business. It started with a circle that's a WTF in the middle of it. And my WTF, it was because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I was going to be losing my job. And I thought, what do I want to do? So I drew that in the middle, and then I started drawing all sorts of circles off of that. So let me go back to some more circles for you. So then I went and did a circle here and a circle here. And then I connected them. And then I started thinking about, do I start my own business or do I find a job? And through the mind map, I just kind of kept drawing these circles from circles, and then thought, if I wanted to start my own job, what do I need to do? I need to figure out what it needs to be. I need to figure out all these things. I just started mind mapping everything. I found my mind map recently. Every single thing I put on my mind map, I did. I started a job. I wrote a book. We won an award for that book. I don't even know how. I started practicing my meditation and spirituality much more strongly than I had in the past. I moved. My husband and I got a divorce. Like everything that I had been thinking about on that mind map, I made happen. So sometimes you yourself are your best coach. You just need a process to help you to get to it. Any questions on that mind map? Okay. All right, so I want to go to the next one, which is exercise. We have about 5 minutes left. Exercise. Exercising is the most significant thing that you can do for your brain in the shortest amount of time. And I don't mean like you got to go, well, no one's going to the gym right now, but just even a few minutes. Now, I typically don't like to work out. I never enjoyed the gym, that is for sure. So with working out, what I've been doing now is I just found an app called One and Done. It's 7 minutes. I can do 7 minutes, and I've been doing it every morning, and I just feel more refreshed. So walk as much as you can. Get outside. Nobody's saying that you have to be like stuck in your house. You just don't be near people, but go outside. I am looking across at the mountains right now. It is spectacular. As soon as I'm done this, I have another webinar this afternoon. I'm going off and I'm going for a walk. So try to get outside. If you have a dog, then you already know you have to go for a walk. Go be with nature, just not with people, but you can be with nature. And while you're sitting at home and you're working on your computer, every 90 minutes, get up, or I would even get up every 60 minutes. Get up for 90 seconds. Get your brain stimulated and just do a couple of squats. Do something to get you up and going. Okay, the last one I want to talk about is R for recharge. So your brain needs downtime. We have been overwhelmed lately, and We're most focused when we're rested. And I thought this was interesting. So after 50 hours, your productivity decreases and your mistakes increase. So I do believe it's about 10% increase of mistakes for every hour after 50 hours. So this is why it's really important to create that boundary between home and work. You need downtime. So I meditate first thing, 10 minutes. I'm up to 15 now every morning. Today's day 1,300 and something. I think I've done 3.5 years straight of meditation because I do small bites, incremental bites. It's easy. And I use an app. I use calm.com because I have monkey mind. Monkey mind is my thoughts don't stop. And so meditation isn't about not thinking. Meditation is about noticing and bringing back things back to breath. And so great. I'm so delighted that people meditate and have been using things. I use an app because she's got a beautiful voice and she helps me and she tells me what I need to do. So that's why I've been able to do this. Now I've created it. I know meditation's not supposed to be competitive. I'm pretty competitive. So I've kept the streak going because I don't want to break my streak, but I've noticed the days I don't meditate, I'm a mess. The days I meditate, I'm sorry if I'm going to step on some political toes, but last night I was listening to Trump's White House press. I was really glad I meditate because I needed to take a lot of deep breaths as I heard some of the things that he was saying. So again, calm mind, that I find really helps. Yeah, praying, meditating. Consider having an hour a day tech free where your kids, you, everybody, turn your phones off and have dinner together. I always use dinner as the time to do this. And then have a proper bedtime routine. Go to bed the same time. I mean, I know you're working from home, so you can get up at 9 or 10 or whatever. Have a proper routine. Yeah, disconnect to connect. Our brains need it. So your brain is like a cell phone battery. It needs to be unplugged. We're supposed to turn our phones down every 2 days for our maximum battery life. We just keep recharging. Our brain is like that. So help yourself to decompress. Last thing I want to just leave you with, if you want to take a screenshot of this, here are some resources that I found to be very effective and helpful for the power model. Things from TED Talks to books to apps. I'm sorry, I got to clear that off that my Antonate just keeps, it just wants to stay there. There, let's get rid of that. So apps that we use, journals. I found the 5-minute journal to be fantastic. It really is 5 minutes. Couple things that you're grateful for in the morning, how you want to live your day, and then a check-in with yourself at the end of the night. And then find out about your strengths. Now, one self-assessment I didn't put on here that I'm going to also recommend to people, $12 online, the Enneagram. If you've never heard of the Enneagram, it's spelled E-N-N-E-A-G-R-A-M. There's 12 different, I'm not a big personality types thing, like I don't like Myers-Briggs that much, but this one I found really helpful because it also tells you what you're like in times of when you're good and when you go into unhealthy, stressful levels. Gives you great insights to what you're like as a partner romantically, what you're like as a person, what you're like as a leader. So $12, go online to the Enneagram Institute and find out your strengths. It's E-N-N, actually here, I'm going to just spell it in the chat for you all so that you can see it. E-N-N-E-A-G-R-A-M, Enneagram. There you go. All right, it is top of the hour. I think I'm gonna do this regularly. So look for my emails. Let's connect more often. Thank you everyone for joining me. I really appreciate it. So great to see so many of you. Stay safe, be well. Bye-bye.